Now, Jane, what's the hardest part of doing transition with students?
I think by the time they get to be juniors or seniors, the hardest thing for transition is making them believers that mom and dad are not going to support them the rest of their lives. Up to this point, they've had fun in school, and they're not really thinking about having a place of their own and actually paying the bills, and I think it's that entitlement factor is probably the hardest to get over with transitions, because sometimes that can limit the students' willpower to try to find something better in the job line, knowing that mom and dad, if something happens, that mom and dad will always be there to get them out of a bind or whatever.
Okay, Jane, now what's the easiest part of transitions?
The easiest part of transition is when you unlock those doors for students, that, especially if they've been on Missouri Connections and they think, oh, I really think I would like that career, and just knowing the student and what their abilities are and their likes and their talents and their personality, it just kind of gels together. And so you kind of see that spark or that student kind of ignite with excitement, and that's probably the easiest and probably the best part of transition.
So they basically are seeing another world past high school.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jane, you've taught for many years. How long after a student has graduated have you been able to keep in contact with them?
I'll tell you, to this day, I still have students that stay in contact with me. And now it's the Facebook era. And, sometimes they'll send me a message, where it's private. They might be parents by now to 2 or 3 different children of their own. And every now and then I'll get somebody to send me a question about what they should do because of this situation or that situation. And I really didn't want to become a type of person where they were dependent on me. I'm not that type of a person, but I think it was just a trust issue that they knew I would tell them straight up, if the right path to go on. And usually it was, with other coworkers, problems with other coworkers, sometimes a boss.
So basically, as a teacher, your support for the student doesn't stop just after they graduate. It continues on into adulthood and even many years on down the road.
You bet. Now, the general rule of thumb for somebody that graduates, whenever you work with voc rehab, it's kind of a triage of the voc rehab, the student, and then the teacher. But we try to stay in touch at least for a couple of years after they graduate, just to make sure that everything's going smooth and that they're able to locate a position and do what they want to do with life.
Have you ever had to, after like a couple of years, had to go back and step in and help this person?
Absolutely. I even had one student, she basically had a mental breakdown because of all the stress and everything, and I was called to St. Mary's Hospital, 4th floor, that student wanted me to be in on a transition meeting of all things and try to get her life pieced back together. So you just never know. I mean, if you're going to put your heart and soul into special education, you have to accept that it's not going to stop that minute that student walks across the stage at graduation. It doesn't happen.
Now that you retired from California High School, now you work for Senate Bill 40. What kind of advice would you have for a special education teacher?
I think the best advice I can give is do not be judgmental. And I've seen a lot of teachers want to place all students in a particular mold. Oh, this would make a nice farmer, and this would make a nice nurse. They don't think of all the different avenues that students can take. And I think we need to kind of think outside the box when doing transitions with students, because yes, you're going to have the ones that want to be tattoo artists. You're going to have the ones that might be doing midnight shifts while going to school, and we can't decide that what isn't maybe right for us isn't necessarily something that they're going to do. And I don't mean anything illegal or anything like that. It's just there's certain things that some kids do to excel. And, you know, by ways and means, you try to support them and not judge them for that.
So as a teacher, you know, in some aspects you like to pick the job for them, but it's not up to you.
That's right.
It should be up to the student.
That's right. That would be like if my mom and dad said, you're going to do this, you're going to be a lawyer, or you're going to be a judge, you know, that's not the way it should work. Everybody should have the freedom and opportunity to pick the career that they want to do.
And as a teacher, you're there to support them.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, Jane, we've covered the aspect of transition through the high school years as a student going through high school and transitioning into adulthood. Now you've taken on a new job at Senate Bill 40. Describe what kind of things that you do at Senate Bill 40 with students that have graduated.
Okay. Well, with Senate Bill 40, I'm supervisor for service coordination. A lot of people remember service coordination as case management. And Montague County just decided to do their own case management within the last year. And since I'm supervisor, I'm the one, well, it's like what service coordination is. We coordinate services for individuals that have been found eligible for the Department of Mental Health through the regional office for services. And this could be anything, a lot of it's vocational, supported employment. We work a lot with Voc Rehab. We have a younger counselor now. The one that I worked with is now, I believe, retired. We also do placement. Like if a person wants to be in their own home, then we try to provide placement with staff supervision, which could be with a personal assistant, or it could be for respite type situations, either in the home or out of the home. We provide transportation to jobs, which that's always been a hard thing, especially for the high school. We never had transportation because it's so expensive to take a bus. The teacher usually had to take her own car, her own vehicle, to take students to placement. So it's really nice that we have 6 different vans and cars that we can take individuals to work. We also try to determine on-the-job training, and Voc Rehab's been really helpful with us on that. And then we also have Choices for Families that's now located in Jefferson City. Their main office was in Rolla, where they do a lot of training. We work with Job Point, Touch Point in Columbia for the autistic individual. We work with a lot of different resources, and I mean it goes from the Kansas City to St. Louis all the way down to the Boot Hill area, different resources for those individuals living in the home that might have severe limitations. We seek out medical and specialized adaptive equipment, which just this last week we had to find a shower chair. It's really a bath chair in which it lifts an individual down into a bathtub. And you know, for different reasons, a lot of individuals don't like to take showers. They like the baths, but if they're so big and it's hard on the caregiver, then this kind of helps. It's a safety issue where the caregiver's safe and the individual's safe. So most of our job is locating resources and coordinating those resources to make sure that they have the best life possible.
Okay. And then when you have all these resources, do you go into the school when a student's ready to transition to you all or to these resources?
Right.
Can you kind of explain how you go into the schools and talk to the teachers?
Well, the best part, and it's really nice at California because I know everybody at California, and Don Cook, the supervisor or coordinator, has been really good about inviting us to the different IEP meetings for the young, you know, in the elementary all the way up to high school. And at that time, we make sure that Voc Rehab is active, that they are doing their job. After we have our IEP meeting at school, then we have what we call an ISP, So those individual plans don't stop at high school. The ISP is a service plan in which we hit all areas, and we try to coordinate not just for the job but well-being. You know, if they have to take medication, who's going to be responsible for administering that medication? You know, the problems living in a home, we all have it. Something always breaks down. So, you know, how to refer services to those individuals so where they can maintain and stay in their home.